You don't seem wanted here, it's best if you leave. My brother's words hit hard, and as I looked over at my sister-in-law, she squinted and smirked, clearly enjoying the pain on my face. I turned to my mother, hoping she'd back me up, but her response only cut deeper. I think it's best if your brother and his wife stay here, she said calmly. They went to a top-tier university and work for a prestigious company. You're always at home. Her words crushed me. They couldn't see all I had done for our family, financially contributing and working tirelessly. Even though it hurt, I mustered the strength to say, "All right, I'll leave, but don't expect any more help from me." As I packed my things, my sister-in-law watched with a smug grin and mocked, "Giving up so fast, Linda? You never know who's going to have it rough in the future." I ignored her snide remark and focused on moving forward. My name is Linda, and I run a successful online business now. It's funny how life takes unexpected turns. In college, I imagined a typical office job, working 9 to 5. But when my father fell ill during my second year, everything changed. He needed constant care, and though we hired help, it wasn't enough. My mother wasn't one to handle caregiving, leaving much of the responsibility to me. It was heartbreaking to see my father in such a fragile state, and I worried about how he'd manage when I began working. I knew I couldn't rely solely on my mother, so I started exploring ways to earn an income from home. With my background in economics, I teamed up with some friends who had expertise in management and technology. Together we launched an online business. While we rented an office for those who couldn't work from home or needed training, I chose to stay home, working from my laptop so I could be there for my father. One day he asked, "Did you give up a regular job because of me, or was it tough finding one after graduation?" His question touched me. I explained how I'd been running the business since college, working from home while still being successful. Hearing this, he smiled and said, "You've grown into such a responsible adult." That meant everything to me. I wasn't the only child, but I was the one who shouldered the burden. My older brother Tom had always been self-centered. Despite his academic success and graduation from a top university, he left us behind after getting a high-paying job, telling us he was starting a new life in the city. He cut off communication, ignoring our calls and texts, even as our father's condition worsened. It hurt the most because Dad had supported him through college and his early adult years, yet Tom never expressed gratitude or offered help. Years later, out of nowhere, we heard from Tom. He called our mom to announce he was getting married and wanted a wedding gift, $199,000. My mother relayed the news to my father and me, looking uneasy. Given our strained finances, she spent most of her part-time income on personal luxuries and had little savings. To my shock, she supported Tom's request. "He's getting married," she said. "I want him to live well and maybe give us grandchildren. Isn't that what parents want?" At first, my father remained calm but soon exploded in anger. "He hasn't spoken to us in years, and now he demands money. Linda stays home to care for me because you don't help enough. I supported Tom his whole life, and he's never shown gratitude. How can you ask this of me?" Their argument grew intense, and I listened from the other room, worried about my father's health. My mother had always favored Tom, praising him while dismissing all I'd done. It hurt deeply. Later that night, after my mother went out with friends, my father turned to me and said, "Linda, thank you for always being there for me." I smiled softly. "It's all right, Dad. I've known for a long time that Mom favors Tom." "I know I've asked a lot of you," I said, holding back tears. "I just wish I could do more to help." "You've done more than enough," my father said warmly. "You've supported me in so many ways, and if it wasn't for you, I may never have started my business." His words brought comfort, but I couldn't shake the pain of my mother's selfishness. She had a loving father herself, yet her behavior didn't reflect that. And my brother, who hadn't spoken to us in years, was now asking for a huge wedding gift. It was hard to accept, but worse things were yet to come. One morning, I found my father lying motionless. I called an ambulance, but it was too late. He was gone. The funeral was packed, with many people coming to pay their respects, showing how much he was loved. Typically, my mother would have handled everything, but she was too distracted, leaving the arrangements to me while she stayed glued to her phone. She seemed more interested in her social life than grieving for Dad. I was furious but focused on giving him a proper farewell. Then the unexpected happened. Tom showed up with a woman in a flashy dress, and his casual attire shocked everyone. Yet, Mom greeted him with a smile, saying, "I'm so glad you're here, Tom. Now your father's inheritance will be ours." The mood in the room changed immediately. Everyone was stunned. "To be honest, Linda shouldn't expect any inheritance," Tom said sarcastically. "She's just been at home, taking care of Dad." I was speechless. Tom must have heard the situation from Mom, but his words still cut deep. My contributions to the family were completely ignored, even though Dad had worked hard to support all of us. And now here they were talking about inheritance at his funeral. Mom seemed to agree. "Shall we get sushi?" she asked Tom, and they left together. Some relatives were clearly uncomfortable, but I kept my composure. "Let's remain calm for Dad's sake," I said, even though I was furious inside. I carried on with the funeral arrangements, pushing the hurt aside. At home, I found the dining table covered with sushi boxes, likely ordered for delivery. Laughter came from the living room where Mom, Tom, and his wife Jessica were drinking and having a good time. "You're late, Linda," Tom slurred. "Why don't you make us some snacks and grab more drinks?" I was shocked by their sheer audacity. It was as if they had no awareness of how inappropriate their behavior was, given the circumstances. Mom, instead of correcting them, laughed along. That was the last straw. "There's nothing for you to inherit," I stated firmly, refusing to fetch them anything. Tom, clearly drunk, turned aggressive. "What do you mean, Linda? You've always been at home making Dad's life difficult. It's only fair that we use what he left behind." The nerve of him. Dad had funded Tom's entire education, yet he had the audacity to feel entitled to his money. "Isn't this house Dad's?" he continued. "As the eldest son, it should be mine. Why is Linda, who does nothing all day, still living here?" Mom remained silent, her expression unreadable. The warmth I once associated with her was long gone. Tom then made his intentions clear. "This house belongs to me. I want Linda out." Jessica, his wife, didn't even pretend to care. Mom finally spoke, her tone dismissive. "I'd rather live with my son and his wife, who are successful, than with you, Linda." Her words hit hard, but they also made everything crystal clear. They never valued me or the sacrifices I had made for our family. Taking a deep breath, I made my decision. "I'll leave. But don't expect anything from me ever again." As I packed my belongings, I overheard Jessica sneering. "She's really pathetic, isn't she?" Laughter followed, but I didn't care. They thought they had won, but they had no idea. This house, it was legally mine. Dad had signed it over to me while he was still alive. I had let Mom stay out of respect, but now, that respect had died with Dad. I decided to sell the house. They'd had no clue that their so-called inheritance had never even existed. Before Mom's health declined, she had a stable income, but once she stopped working, her savings drained fast. She used them to hire help, but even that didn't last. When Dad's condition worsened, I stepped in, contributing $3,300 every month to keep everything running. Mom, however, was terrible with finances. She splurged on luxury items, mismanaged household funds, and even took extra money for her indulgences. When Dad's savings were completely depleted, I started sending $3,000 a month to cover expenses. But now, that stopped. The next morning my phone rang. Mom's voice was panicked. "Linda, did you take the household money?" I smirked. "What money?" "Dad's savings. You used it all up, remember?" I had left the financial ledger on the table, documenting every cent that had gone into the house. I could hear Mom scrambling, likely realizing the truth. Then, the front door slammed open. "Mom, where's Dad's inheritance? Did you spend it all?" Tom's voice was sharp with fury. Jessica wasn't far behind, her tone laced with disbelief. "Wait, you called us back here just to rely on us financially? That's messed up." "No. That's not what I meant." Mom stammered, but the damage was done. They had returned expecting a payday, only to find out there was nothing left. "We left good jobs thinking we'd get Dad's inheritance. How are we supposed to live now?" Tom yelled. "Not my problem." Then he turned to Mom. "And what about the $2,700 you've been getting every month? You said Linda wasn't working." Mom froze, guilt flashing across her face. She looked at me, desperate. Linda, what's going on? I gave her a small, knowing smile. You should look into remote work, Mom. These days you can make money without leaving home. I had never told them about my thriving online business. If they knew, they would have tried to leech off me. Please come back, Mom pleaded. Let's be a family again. I sighed. Mom, you just want my money. And the house, it was mine. Dad had put it in my name years ago because of tax reasons. I never mentioned it before because I never imagined they would turn on me so cruelly. But now, I had already contacted my uncle, a real estate agent, to sell it. If Tom and Jessica tried to stay, he'd make sure they were thrown out. Mom went silent. Tom was still shouting in the background, demanding answers. I had no energy left for them. My uncle would deal with it. Goodbye, I said. I'm cutting ties with you both, and I won't be using this phone anymore. I hung up. I could only imagine their shock. For a moment, I felt a pang of sadness, but just for a moment. I had been planning to move abroad for years. A secret dream I never shared, not even with Dad. I wanted to live somewhere warm, surrounded by vibrant cultures and new experiences. When they kicked me out, they unknowingly gave me the perfect excuse to finally go. I immediately started packing and searching for my next destination. I found a short-term rental in a bustling city, close to the airport, perfect for my next move. Meanwhile, Tom, Jessica, and Mom scrambled for a new place to live. They ended up squeezed into a tiny apartment, forced to take part-time jobs just to survive. My uncle, out of curiosity, hired a private investigator to check on them. Apparently, they were still spending recklessly, sinking deeper into debt with shady lenders. It wouldn't be long before debt collectors came knocking. I, on the other hand, had moved on. I doubt I'll ever see them again, and that's just fine with me. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Stay stunned.